Happy Monday, real estate ops community. Josie here and Carissa. So we were on, and I was a little heated because I just spent the last hour, maybe hour and a half, looking through a lease because we don't do a ton of rentals, but we do rentals here in Connecticut, right, on our team. Um, the lease that was given to me, I don't know if it came from like the landlord sometimes, right? They find one, they create one, I don't know what they do. And then they send it to us and they ask, "Can you use my lease to have this signed?" Right? Sometimes certain brokerages will just kind of make up their own and then that's what they try to send off to get signed. This lease had so many, I hesitate to say illegal, but unenforceable, right, terms on it, that I had to push back on. And I was like, oh my God, this agent's gonna be like, who's this bitch? But at the end of the day, I have to protect our tenants, right? To say like you're asking for like certain fines that aren't enforceable, certain things that like you just can't you can't force the tenant to do X, Y, and Z, right? If they are not the cause of like certain property damage, you can't say that they have to pay it, for example. So today's topic essentially is like how do you protect your clients? Literally an hour to an hour and a half of me having to comb through it and then prepping this email to send to the agent as best and gently as I could about all the changes that I needed, right, before I was going to let my client sign this. So now he has to go back to his landlord and what he should have did from the beginning and address this stuff. So regardless of what side of the transaction you're on, right? Like Carissa was just saying, and I'm gonna let you say it because but you have to I guess that's part of the fiduciary responsibility to me, right? Like
Right.
you know what I
And
mean?
so to be clear, every state is different. And we always
Right.
like to not allude, but just give that as a what do you call it?
Disclaimer.
A disclaimer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Monday. Monday is Mondaying today. Um, However, your job is to not just be a paper pusher, right? So a lot of the time we get a bad rep because that's what the public sees us as. Like, oh, I can sell my own house. I can lease my own house. I can purchase my own, whatever it is, I can do it on my own because they don't see the value. And the only time money or the question of money comes into place is when value isn't there. So, what value, I want you to think about this is what value are you bringing that sets you apart and requires your client to use you? So, if they're using you to purchase or lease a property and they're just signing whatever anybody else sends to them, why are they using you? Why are you getting paid? Besides pushing the papers around and being a paper pusher, you're not a transactional agent, right? You're not just giving them the paperwork they need and giving it to the parties that are required to see it. You are there to be a consultant in that. And so while the line, I need you guys to hear this because a lot of agents do cross this line. You're not an attorney. So your job isn't to interpret the contract for them. However, it is a great opportunity for you if you're using a form that's outside of your normal state forms. Like in Georgia, we have GAR forms, which are already scrubbed by attorneys and written to protect parties involved, and they are going to abide by all the legal requirements in Georgia. So if you're using anything that's outside of your state mandated forms, I would advise you to one, let your clients know that, hey, this is not a normal form that we're used to seeing. However, in looking through this, I did find a couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention that might not be the norm. At the end of the day, it's up to you whether you sign or you don't sign. I always tell my clients anytime it is a crazy form, before they sign it, counter back on a GAR form, right? So I tell them, hey, counter back on this. You don't have it binding yet, so counter back on this because there's more protection in there for your client. If they push back, which honestly a lot of lease companies already have their pre-written leases and they will do that. It's you're perfectly able to, like Josie said, pick apart a couple of the things that are standing out to you that are just not maybe normal normal in your state or legal. I mean,
Right. Or enforceable. That's why I was
yeah.
like, let's say
Yeah,
they're unenforceable terms. Yeah.
right. Um, advise them that they can have somebody look at that. You know, if they want to do a deeper discovery of it, you can absolutely pay an attorney to look it over because while people see it as just a lease, it could be a lot more costly than you think. People don't realize like when you're signing a lease, all the things that are involved, you know? So when you're not sure, ask. Like raise your hand. We all have, if you're not the broker of your brokerage, you have a broker to lean on. So in when you're questioning something, you do not have to have the answer. You just have to find out where to get the answer. So
Right,
be more than a paper pusher, be resourceful, be that person that has the tools in the tool belt. We say it all the time. Like you don't necessarily need every tool for every transaction, but you want to make sure you have the right tool for the right transaction. So in this case, it would be it this is why relationships are huge because I have an attorney friend like that I can bounce things and say, "Hey, does this look all right? Like, will you look at
right,
this for my client for me?" So if you can build that tool belt with some of those people as some of the tools, you're set. But definitely do your clients a service, people. Like, do not just push the paper just because it was sent to you and think that it's valid. Think that the person on the other side is a stand-up person. Think that, I mean, one of the things that Josie brought up was it was basically something in there stating that the property management company can sign on behalf of the tenant in
oh
the
yeah, it
future.
was like an attorney in fact verbiage. Oh no, no, our clients don't authorize you to be their attorney in fact under any circumstance. If you need a legal document signed, you can contact them.
Right.
Like oh no.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
And that's where I'm really like that is totally to protect the um landlord. You know, that has nothing to
right,
do with the tenant because I mean I'm a landlord and anything that needs to be signed by me. Like legal stuff, like when they
right,
changed out the water meter and stuff like that. My tenant would not need to sign that. So Josie brought up a good point. Like the only thing that they're gonna really sign on your behalf is something that's detrimental to you, most likely. Like if they do get foreclosed on and they have
right,
to evict you, or not evict you,
right.
but
Give
like,
up your rights potentially or your
right,
security deposit or something like that, right? And I think that's the point of today, right? It's at the heart of it, for me, the frustration is that as the listing agent, you should have did your due diligence to review this before sending it off, right? And it was signed by the landlord. So wherever the lease originated, if it originated from the landlord, you definitely should have reviewed it. And if it originated from the brokerage, well, then shame on the brokerage. If you didn't have that reviewed by like an attorney and you put this together, right? Because there's a lot of things that were easily verifiable through like Connecticut general statutes, for example. And so while I am not an attorney, I referenced and I said, if they have some questions, here's one place to start because even landlords, like even without real estate representation, you are still responsible to not have illegal or unenforceable terms, right, in the lease that you might choose to use. And like Krista said, if like the MLS has one, why would we not just use the MLS one? If you want an addendum for extra protection, that makes sense. But when you start creating things from scratch, you're not necessarily doing your due diligence. And that's why I said, regardless of what side of the transaction you're on, you have a responsibility to be educated and take the trainings that your office might offer. We obviously we can give tips and strategies on certain things, but like unless you're in Connecticut, I'm not necessarily going to be giving a full Connecticut overview, right? Just like Chris is not going to give a full Georgia overview because we cater to agents and admins all over the country, right? And speaking of admins, if you're the agent, it really is your responsibility to help direct them and make sure that they are double checking these things as well. Because there are
right.
a lot of admins that do also act as paper pushers, where if you're like, hey, go get this signed by the tenant, they will literally just say okay, and then they'll put it in DocuSign or Dotloop or whatever, and then they'll send it for digital signatures without reading what you've sent them. So there should be so many layers, right, of double proofing. I was gonna say social proof of proofreading, if you will. um
Right.
Different documents and things like that, and that's why we are big on the trainings. And so if your office has trainings, and if your office doesn't, then the state broker or whatever probably does, like where it's online, or maybe you go in person to your local MLS office. So your board office is what I meant by state broker. Find the resources that you need to be a better skilled agent so that you are serving your clients at the highest level.
Exactly. And that's it. Just go the extra step. That's it. Like, don't think if you are just pushing it from your desk to the next, you're not doing what you were hired for, period.
Exactly. And then if you're like, well, I really didn't know where to start, then we hopefully we just gave you some ideas. Go to your MLS, go to your board, go to your office, and then, or go to the top agent maybe in your office and ask where do they go for additional training and get some tips that
Exactly.
way. Yeah. Okay. That's what we got. I'm gonna go woosah and jump to the next thing. If you have questions on this, like please feel free to comment. We'll check them later, like on Facebook in the live stream or whatever. We can be happy to help redirect you in this area as well.
Absolutely. Well, y'all have a great day. It's great talking to you and speaking with you and chatting it up.